What's going on, YouTube? This is SG1 Sports here on the Ohio State channel at the voice of college football. The way too early top 25 rankings have come out. We're going to look at where the Buckeyes are ranked in 10 different rankings. And of course, Ohio State near the top. Not going to be a huge differential in these rankings, but we've seen them anywhere from 2 all the way to 6. And it is way too early to be ranking these teams. We don't have all the information. We don't even know what the rosters are going to look like come fall, but it's always fun to do. So let's jump right into it. You can see my full way too early top 25 over on my channel. I will quickly give you that ranking here in just a second, but we'll start with ESPN. ESPN actually the highest on Ohio State. They've got them at number 2 behind only Georgia. So they've got the Buckeyes ahead of Michigan. They've got Michigan at number 3. And they've actually got Florida State at number 4, and I've seen Florida State ranked really high in several of these. And they've got Alabama down at number 5. So the Buckeyes number 2 according to ESPN. And how about Fox Sports? They've got them at number 3, so they're very high on the Buckeyes as well. If you look at the rankings for Fox Sports, I think everyone has Georgia at number 1, but they've got Michigan at number 2. And I do have a hard time putting Ohio State ahead of Michigan, given the fact that Michigan just beat them 2 years in a row, and they play in Ann Arbor this year. I get it. Ohio State probably has the more talented overall roster, but just comparing those two teams, it's, again, hard for me to put Ohio State ahead of Michigan. But, again, ESPN did do that. Fox Sports, though, putting them at number 3. 24/7 has them at number 4, so they're not quite as high on this Ohio State team. They also have Georgia at number 1. Like I said, I think pretty much everyone has Georgia at number 1, especially if you did your top 25 after the game last night. I think that probably definitely would have you putting Georgia there at number 1. Michigan is at number 3. Alabama is at number 2. So they go Georgia, Alabama, then Michigan, then Ohio State. Let's go to the Pro Football Focus. They've got the Buckeyes at number 3. So same as Fox Sports. When you look at their rankings, again, they're going to have Georgia at number 1, and they're going to have Michigan at number 2. They also had Florida State at number 4. So that's another one that's really high on Florida State, which is interesting. Let's go to Sports Illustrated. So they are not as high on this Ohio State team. Actually dropping them all the way down to number 6, which seems a little bit low to me. They've got Georgia at 1, Michigan at 2, LSU at number 3, Penn State at number 4, Washington at number 5. So they've got Washington and Penn State ahead of Ohio State. A little bit of a head scratcher there. I don't know. I mean, I get it. The hype around Penn State, they're going to be pretty good. Washington, I've got some issues with Washington. I talk about that again in my top 25. But let's go down to Athlon. They've got the Buckeyes at number 3, and they've got them behind Georgia and Michigan. So that's kind of that seems to be the most popular ranking, is Georgia, then Michigan, then Ohio State. Some may be putting Alabama up there. USA Today, they also have Ohio State at number 6, so they are much lower on this team. They have, again, Georgia at number 1, then Michigan, then Alabama, and then Florida State, another ranking that has Florida State at number 4. And then they have Penn State at number 5. So they got Florida State and Penn State ahead of Ohio State. Buckeyes again coming in at number 6. All right, let's move on to the next one. We've got Yahoo. Yahoo has Ohio State at number 4. They are behind Georgia, and again, at number 1, Georgia, then Alabama, and then at number 3 is Michigan. So they go Georgia, Alabama, Michigan. That's another popular order for these rankings. And then we go one more here. We've got the Sporting News. They've got them at number 4 as well. Sporting News also going to have Georgia at 1, then Alabama, then Michigan, then Ohio State. So just looking at these rankings, you can see anywhere from 2. The only place that has them at 2 is ESPN. That's the only one that has ESPN, that has Ohio State number 2. Everyone else, 3 and 4 seems to be the most popular spot. I've actually got Ohio State at number 5. It's like a toss-up for me. It's a tie at number 4 between Alabama and Ohio State. I have a little bit of a surprise team at number 3. I've got Georgia 1, Michigan 2. like I said, it's hard for me to put Ohio State ahead of Michigan, at least at this point. Once we analyze the teams more and break it all down, maybe I'll have Ohio State higher when we get to the preseason. But right now, just coming off of the season, I think Michigan has to be ahead of them. I'm fine with Alabama or Ohio State, and I would be okay with them at 3. So for me, 3, 4, or 5, I think that's a good spot for Ohio State. 6 is way too low, or is too low. I shouldn't say way too low. It's just one spot. But 6 is too low. I mean, I just don't think you should put them behind a Penn State or a Florida State or definitely not a Washington. So again, the 6 seems low, but 3 to 5, somewhere in there, I think is a very fair, way too early ranking for Ohio State. We'll see where they wind up again once we get to the preseason. If you want to see my full top 25 rankings, again, check that out over on my channel. I talk about Ohio State a little bit more on there and go through all the rest of the top 25. Give me your thoughts on all of these rankings down in the comments below, and thanks for watching.